What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 5 of the We Three Kings Wrestling Podcast. Hope you guys had a fantastic week. I am your host, Ben Mostaller, along with me, Troy Cook, Brandon King, and later on, we welcome back to the podcast, Kimberly Cook, who will be making her selections with us for the mixed tag team bracket we're doing for Valentine's Day. If you haven't seen that already, it is up on our social media pages. At We Three Kings Wrestling on Instagram and We Three Kings Pod over on Twitter. We've had a couple of people respond with their picks, and if you would like to participate, go ahead over there and look at the bracket and fill it out with us. We will be ending the show by looking at another region in that 32 team bracket. But nonetheless, we've held off from talking about AEW the last couple of weeks due to the Royal Rumble and the aftermath of the Royal Rumble. So the first half of the podcast, we're going to focus on AEW, and we're going to start with a huge signing. Tony Khan announced last week that he was going to be signing somebody big, but it was very hush-hush in AEW. For a while, there was rumors that it could be Ryback, maybe Jeff Hardy, heck, maybe even Cody Rhodes, who's technically a free agent now, which wouldn't have been that big of a free agency signing. But nonetheless, the winner would take on, or I should say, that person would take on Isaiah Cassidy. And we ended up getting the limitless one, Keith Lee, who is now all elite. Now, that is wild since he just got married the other day. I did not expect it to be Keith Lee, probably on his honeymoon too. He flew right to Atlantic City. Maybe that's where his honeymoon was. But nonetheless, he is on AEW, and he destroyed Isaiah Cassidy, and he made Matt Hardy pretty upset there, as it wasn't even a match. But Troy, I want to start with you first on your thoughts about the signing of Keith Lee and where you see him fitting into AEW, maybe who you see him feuding with, or what is his role going to be on AEW. And when you're done with that, we also got another debut. Switchblade came over from New Japan and made an appearance helping out Young Bucks and Adam Cole. So, Troy, your thoughts on Keith Lee and then Switchblade.
First off, Tony Khan has been teasing for weeks that there was someone coming from the Forbidden Door. Someone was coming through the Forbidden Door. Someone you'd never expect is showing up on AEW. And as Ben was saying, it was everywhere from Keith Lee to, and he was the predominant rumor, but Keith Lee to Shane Mack to Triple H. Honestly, I think this is one of the worst kept secrets in wrestling in a long time, because almost all of the arrows are pointing towards Keith Lee. But that's not the one that's coming through the Forbidden Door, because he's a free agent. Everybody's saying that the Forbidden Door, and everybody was saying the big signing was Keith Lee. Technically, it isn't, because he was a free agent. We'll get more to that later. What do I think of Keith Lee? Honestly, not much. I know this is going to upset Brandon, but he has not really showed me a lot in NXT or in the WWE to why he is as popular as he is, and why he's almost being pushed as quote unquote the next big thing. I don't see it. What are they going to do with him in AEW? Like everything else that Tony Khan gets. Ooh, look, shiny new toys available. Daddy, I want it. I want it. Okay, son, here it is. They're going to use him for a while. I expect him to be a monster babyface, and they're going to push him as the unstoppable person, and unstoppable wrestler. I could see him having feuds with Miro, and that would almost be size for size, even though Miro is a lot thinner and smaller now than he was when he was in WWE. But I could see a issue or a program with Miro and I could see maybe something down the line with the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer. Beyond that, I don't know where I see him, and it wouldn't surprise me that if once he gets past his initial feud or two, he's gonna get lost in the shuffle because I don't see much for him. Also, don't see much in him, but I don't see much for him. I think the bigger signing and the bigger, I want to say this, unexpected person last night was Switchblade Jay White. For those of you who don't know, he is currently, I believe, the leader of the Bullet Club in New Japan, and he's also signed to Impact Wrestling, former TNA. That is the one that came through the forbidden door because he is signed to another company. And what we're seeing here, boys and girls, is Tony Khan gathering more and more people that have contact and have experience with the Bullet Club. And by him last night hanging out with Adam Cole and with the Bucks, who are also former Bullet Club running mates, he's going to be, of course, involved in that storyline somewhere. And what I still wouldn't be surprised of is you're going to have Adam Cole and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly going against the Young Bucks, and maybe not Adam Cole, or not Adam Cole, I'm sorry, maybe not Kenny Omega. I think Kenny Omega might be further away from returning than people think. Because not only does he have a lot of nagging injuries from beating the heck out of himself for years, he also, from what I understand, has COVID or had COVID and is having a hard time recovering it and regaining his strength and his breathing. Now, that's conjecture. I haven't heard that from any official sources like AEW, but I have saw that in a handful of the news articles online and also on YouTube. Don't know how true it is, but that's what I've heard. So maybe they're going to fit Jay White into the position with the Bucks to go against Adam Cole and Red Dragon, which is Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. So I think in the long run, Jay White's going to be the more important signee and the more important character down the road.
When Keith Lee came out last night, that was by far, I think, the best thing I've seen in a while. Now, where does he go from here? This is what I'm hoping that happens. I'm hoping that he's somewhere in the title picture, not right away, but I feel he needs to get his feet wet in there first, because the fact that WWE didn't use him like they should was very disappointing. I think Keith Lee has a lot to prove that, hey, you let me go. Now I'm going to prove to you why this was your biggest mistake. Switchblade coming through last night. I don't know much about him. I just know that he had a very big impact. We'll see how that impact goes. But as far as Keith Lee, I think if they do it right and do it properly, he's going to be a big person to deal with when it comes to AEW. But again, it has to be right timing, right place, right storyline. So this is to Keith Lee. Hopefully that he makes it big, and hopefully they utilize him to the best of his ability, because that young man right there has a lot to give, and he should be utilizing those skills effectively.
It was definitely a big pop when Keith Lee's music hit, the new music. But as soon as I saw Limitless up on the Titantron there, I knew, or the Titantron, whatever you want to call it, I knew that it was going to be I knew it was going to be Keith Lee. And I know they zoomed in on one guy and he was just completely shocked. I wasn't so shocked because, again, he was a name that was kind of being rumored to be there. And I also had heard on Twitter that he had signed to AEW about 30 minutes before AEW started. So when I saw that, I'm like, well, this has got to be who it is. Keith Lee, he looked decent last night. I heard that he put on some weight. I hope they work with him a little bit and give him a bigger push than they did in WWE. But honestly, I don't think right now a world title shot is anywhere near his future. I talked to Troy earlier. I thought Miro would be a good first start for him. Lance Archer's a good name now, and maybe even a Wardlow to take on. So I think he's just going to be kind of like a Wardlow for a while, where he's just taking on the mediocre competition and demolishing them. And eventually, I could possibly see him being a TNT champion, as Miro was, and now Sammy Guevara, because Sammy Guevara did call him out last night on his cards for a potential maybe challenger to his TNT championship. So good to see Keith Lee on AEW. He's not going to be one of those guys that's going to be right in the title picture right away. But if they develop him, work with him, I think maybe in years to come, he could definitely be there, because I think he's going to have the crowd support. As far as Switchblade, I think he'll be used more than Keith Lee right away. And I thought that was an interesting signing last night when he came out. The crowd did get a pop for him when they showed the video in the back of him helping the Young Bucks and Adam Cole. But otherwise, I mean, Keith Lee's the big name that they were talking about. He's there. He's all elite. And once again, another WWE star is now on the other team. So let's move on from Keith Lee and talk about Adam versus Adam. And I think I did, or one of us called out a week or two ago, that this is probably what's going to be happening. But first, the main event last night on Dynamite, we had Hangman Adam Page defend the AEW championship against Lance Archer in a Texas death match, which got started in the back. They worked their way out to the ring. One of the ropes was cut down. There was tables involved. It was a pretty decent match if you like that hardcore stuff. But in the end, Adam Page hit the buckshot lariat through two tables and successfully defended the title. While he was standing in the ring, we saw Adam Cole walk out, and you thought maybe there'd be an altercation there. But all Adam Cole did was pick up the AEW championship, hand it over, put it around Adam Page's shoulder. So it looks like we could have an Adam versus Adam match here shortly, or a rivalry between the two. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this Adam Cole versus Adam Page potential rivalry for the AEW championship?
It's going to be something to look forward to, because I think both of these boys can go to the limit. But it's tough, and it's tough to tell, because you never know with these guys, because I'm sure that after watching that match last night, there's no way that Adam Hangman Page should even be standing. The way that he was powerbombed on those steel steps, my Lord of mercy. You just look at it and say, oh my gosh, that hurts. But I think this is going to be an interesting match. This could be a good rivalry if it's booked if it's booked properly. Who is the legit Adam in AEW? That's what we're going to be looking at here. Who's the legit Adam in AEW? Who's going to be the dominant Adam in AEW? And who's going to be the most supreme Adam in AEW? It's good for a storyline. Let's just hope they do it right.
I'm not sure we're on the right track here. Because here's something else. I believe, actually I am certain. Adam Page was also a member of the Bullet Club in New Japan, and I believe also in Ring of Honor. So if they're working on giving Adam Cole a face push, would it not make sense for him to come out to congratulate one of his former friends and professionally give him professional courtesy by handing him the belt. Just a thought, because I believe it's being set up for people to think that that might be the next challenger, that might be the next storyline. But what if it's not? What if this is the start of a face turn for Adam Cole, leading up to what I've been thinking about for months with, I've already brought it up tonight, leading up to the idea of, let's just call it the Undisputed Era versus the Elite. Just a thought. I could be wrong, but just a thought. Maybe this was not a challenge, because as far as I know, now you couldn't hear what was being said in the ring, but as far as I know, there was no, challenge or anything. There was no snide remarks or no, no verbal exchange. There we go. There was no verbal exchange between Adam Page and Adam Cole. It's just he handed him the belt. Was that a show of respect? I don't know. But I'm just wondering if maybe we're barking up the wrong tree here.
Potentially. I think that eventually we're going to get this rivalry with these two to see who's the best Adam. At the beginning, when he walked out, I was like, all right, here we go. He's going to attack him. But it makes sense that he did what he did. I think he's trying to just show, hey, I respect you, but I also want to come for that AEW championship. Obviously, I think Adam Cole would be the heel in this match, but he's still going to get the love. And I like him a little bit more than Adam Page. Adam Page hasn't been the champion that I thought he'd be. They haven't really given him the opportunity. I think Troy brought up at one point that the AEW championship isn't really like the face of the brand right now on Dynamite or Rampage. It's not really being defended. It's not really being the main portion of the show or the main event. It appears the TNT championship's a bigger name right now than the AEW championship. They're just not doing much with it. So I don't know if that's something. A lot of these matches, like with Danielson, I wasn't too impressed with. Lance Archer, they were just trying to go at it in the Texas Death Match. But I think that Adam Page needs some sort of rival that is just like him. And I think that Adam Cole and him would go very well together in a ring. I think they would duke it out really well.
I just have a concern that AEW is going to, and put it this way, Big E Adam Page. And what I mean by that is let him have the belt for a couple months, maybe 3 or 4 months, and then say, nope, you're not doing it for us. You're not what we thought you were, and then rip the belt off of him. Because I still think WWE did a very, very big disservice to Big E by how they treated him. And I wouldn't put it past AEW to do it to Adam Page, because much as I hate to say it, I still think that Tony Khan likes his shiny new toys, and he will take one of the bigger stars from WWE that he has paid for, as opposed to promoting one of the, in all honesty, one of the founders of AEW. Because I consider Adam Cole, Chris Jericho, the Bucks, and Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega as the founders of AEW. But if you watch what's going on AEW now, I'm not really quite sure if TK, as they call him, sees things the same way I do. And what do I know? He has the money. He owns it. I don't.
That's true. And I could definitely see that Big E scenario happening with Adam Page, because I don't think that they're using him properly either. And the matches that he's in, they're just not, I don't know, they're just not doing it for me. They're not as exciting. I thought the match last night was pretty good, but prior to that, it's just like, what are you doing with him? He's not the face of your company. And maybe they're not going to give him much longer. I think Adam Cole could definitely be the face of the company the way that he's been performing in AEW. Again, a WWE person, but right now all the champions are non-WWE. You take a look at Sammy Guevara, one of the pillars of AEW, the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, they're the tag team champions. Jade Cargill. So they are still using their talent. Will it get to a point when one of the WWE superstars gets their chance? Sure. They signed him for a reason. And some of these names are big, like Adam Cole. Keith Lee's big, but he won't be there yet. Bryan Danielson, CM Punk. They're going to get their chance. It's just when. And I think Adam Cole's chance is going to be here soon, especially if Kenny Omega's not coming back, because I think we'll eventually get a rivalry between, Omega, the Young Bucks, and then the Undisputed Era. But if Omega's not coming back for a while, maybe they're going to let Adam Cole and Adam Page duke it out for a little bit until that happens. So I'm cool with this match. I think that they would both put on a great performance in the ring together. They're built the same. They got signed to the same move sets. I think this would be, so far as Adam Page has been the champion, probably his better matchup.
When does MJF get a shot?
I would hope soon, because I think he'll be there, but I think they're still going to drag along CM Punk. So I would say after Adam Cole. I don't know. But
I would like to see MJF before Adam Cole.
Yeah, I don't think they're done with CM Punk yet, but that's a good way to lead into our next topic before we get to the bracket. Is we haven't got to discuss what's happening with MJF and CM Punk. And last week in Chicago, they finally were able to go at it, and MJF cheated by making CM Punk tap out using some sort of tape to choke him out. And they called it a win for MJF. They said the match had to continue because they caught the tape, and they went at it again. But thanks to Wardlow showing up, MJF won twice. Now he's bragging that he beat him twice. Last night, CM Punk came out in Atlantic City on Dynamite with Sting and Darby Allin, and was going to pretty much beat up MJF. But MJF said, hey, you can face me whenever you want in any kind of match, but you have to defeat FTR first, and your tag team partner cannot be Sting or Darby Allin. So I'm thinking, wouldn't it be cool if it was a turn that finally Wardlow leaves, because I think it's coming soon. He's going to turn his back on MJF and join CM Punk in this match. But we didn't get that. We got Jon Moxley, and the match itself was okay. I thought it could have been done better, but CM Punk and Jon Moxley won the match. So I figured this rivalry still going on, Troy, but what are your thoughts of this whole CM Punk MJF stuff?
It's gone too long. And much as I complain and bitch about WWE hot-shotting things and pulling the trigger too early, this thing hasn't been building and brewing like I thought it would. Yeah, they both like to run their mouth, but at what point in time we got to put up or shut up? And this is the same thing that they do with MJF all the time, where he'll face you, he'll agree to fight you, and then he'll throw everybody in front of him until the very last moment, because that's exactly what he did with Jericho. Is he made him face everybody from MJF made Jericho face everybody from the Pinnacle before he was able to get to MJF, and it's just, I don't know. I won't say I'm down on AEW, but I'm starting to see a lot of issues with them too, with their booking and the way they're doing things, because it's almost the same storylines over and over again. Only this time, instead of the hero and instead of the legend being Chris Jericho, now it's CM Punk. And, it's one of those things like, second verse, same as the first type of thing. I don't know. I really thought there'd be more to the feud between MJF and Punk than there is.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that their first match?
Yeah, that was the first time that they wrestled a week ago.
Okay, so if that was the first time they wrestled, then I don't think it's over yet. So I don't think the rest, in the words of Natasha Bedingfield. The rest is still unwritten right now. So I don't know what else is going to come out of it. I don't know what else is going to stem from this. But if it's anything like what Troy said, the storyline with Jericho and everything else of that nature, then we're in a repeat cycle. What should happen is if CM Punk wants to go at it one more time, do it in a last man standing match, do it in a steel cage match, whatever. But at some point, this eventually is going to have to come to a head because CM Punk he's got to get to the point where he's in the title picture. I know he wants to put guys over, and I get it, and I understand it, and everything of that nature, but he's got to get in that title picture because CM Punk is a world champion caliber wrestler. So as soon as this is over, I think Punk needs to get in the world championship or even the TNT championship picture and try to, do something here, because if it gets too redundant, then we start looking at CM Punk as if, I don't know, doesn't look promising. So here's what I'm going to tell him. Do what you're going to do with this storyline, but you better do it quick.
I think that they're going to continue this and have one more match at the pay-per-view coming up here at the beginning of March. I think it's going to play out till that. And after that's over with, MJF then will get his world championship opportunity. I just see that happening. I think that CM Punk will get the win, and then they'll kind of just end it with that and have them move their separate ways. So for now, I think that this continues. The match last week was okay. I thought they could have done it better. Maybe they're waiting for the pay-per-view coming up here to do some sort of like last man standing or crazier match, like no disqualification, before they end things.
Having Punk win the feud would do absolutely nothing for MJF. I really, honestly, I hope that that's not the way to go. As much as I can't stand MJF as a character, he needs this win. He needs to win this feud, not match. He needs to win the feud in order to progress his character and to keep the development of being one of the best heels of recent history in professional wrestling. So I don't know. Are they going to give the win to Punk in the feud? I don't know, but I really hope that they don't. I hope that the overall win of the feud goes to MJF.
Well, I think that CM Punk will win the next match if it's at the pay-per-view. But then what MJF will have is said, well, I beat you twice in one night, so I'm still technically ahead of you. I think that that's kind of where it'll go. Like, oh, who cares you beat me, but I beat you twice in one night. So maybe that's how it'll end, and he can move on as being one of the top heels, maybe then taking on Adam Page, because I think those two could really go at it. But I think they need fillers until the pay-per-view. And then after the pay-per-view, start these new rivalries, which is where I could see MJF and Adam Page going at it.
The feud spins around Wardlow. Whichever direction Wardlow goes is how the feud's going to go. If they end up right now breaking him away from MJF, then feud's going to go with Punk, as they've been teasing. But if he stays with MJF for a while, then feud's going to go to MJF.
Yeah, I think Wardlow is going to break off at some point here. But who knows? It could go either way. Obviously, that's why we have our opinions. But let us know what you think on our social media pages. Maybe we'll throw out a question, which way you think things are going to go, how it's going to end, and who might be the challenger then for the AEW championship. But AEW itself, great Dynamite last night. I thought they put on a great show. A lot of the matches were fantastic. We had the inner circles splitting up, which is another topic to discuss in the future with Sammy Guevara leaving. We had the tag team match with FTR, Moxley, and CM Punk. MJF getting carried out pretty much on a silver plate, getting anything he wanted, and everybody acknowledging him as they might acknowledge the tribal chief to start off the show. And of course, the Texas death match for the AEW championship to end it. So AEW doing big things, and their pay-per-view Revolution will be, I believe that's on March 6th. So we're about less than a month away from that, and it should be leading up to be a great pay-per-view.
So the Revolution will be televised.
Yeah, if you pay $60 for it. So I'll be on vacation. I hope I get to pay for it. Will be going to the AEW show after the pay-per-view, so I'll get to see the aftermath of Revolution. Hopefully it's a good one. Look out for me while I'm down there. But nonetheless, let's end AEW and let's bring in the card queen and our queen of the Three Kings Wrestling podcast, Kimberly Cook, to do our brackets. Kim, how you doing tonight?
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me back.
It's always great to have you on here and talk wrestling, and of course bringing a queen to get the queen's perspective of these brackets. Last week we were all in pretty much agreement with the whole top left region, which included Edge and Beth Phoenix, the #1 seed, coming out on top for all of us. This week we go over to the second region with the #2 seed leading the top. And we will go ahead and start with you, Kim. We'll jump right into it. And we have the #2 seeded Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. They would be taking on the 31st seed, Jungle Boy and Anna Jay. So who do you think comes out of that match?
As much as I do love Jungle Boy, son of the late Luke Perry, and Anna Jay, I'm going to have to go Triple H and Stephanie McMahon on this one. Triple H, obviously a Hall of Famer, dominant in the peak of his career. So I think that he would just trample Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy's limber. I mean, he's damn fun to watch, but I think Triple H would dominate this one.
I could see Triple H steamrolling Jungle Boy. I wouldn't even be surprised if Stephanie and Jay doesn't even get in the ring. But if it just ends up being the two guys, and if Triple H can get his hands on Jungle Boy, it wouldn't last very long. There's still a little bit of inexperience and greenness to Jungle Boy, and Trips would take advantage of that in a hurry.
They don't call him the cerebral assassin for nothing. And if you learned anything from wrestling history, you always bet on a McMahon. So give me Triple H and Stephanie, hands down.
Yeah, you can't go against Triple H here. I mean, in this matchup, he would be too dominant. Jungle Boy, obviously a fantastic wrestler, enjoyable to watch. But Triple H just blows everybody out of the water in this match. Stephanie McMahon, again, wouldn't be too much. Anna Jay, they might match up a little bit better, but Triple H just is too much for Jungle Boy. So I'm going Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. The next matchup is between the 15-seeded Mike and Maria Kanellis versus the 18th seed Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. Brandon, do you see an upset here?
No. Maria can't wrestle. Mike Kanellis, I'm not too certain about him, so I like Gargano a lot better. So give me Gargano and his wife.
Actually, that would be an upset because the Canales is technically a rank higher, but this wouldn't even be much of a match either. I really think the Garganos would walk all over them.
Yeah, I have to agree with the other two guys. Mike and Marie Kanellis, honestly, I've never been huge fans of either of them. Never really paid much attention to how good they are in the ring. And apparently I didn't pay attention because they probably aren't. No offense to them. But Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae are fabulous technical wrestlers. They have, training schools, I think, somewhere in Ohio. And have actually, I believe they were the ones that trained Britt Baker. Fun fact. So I think Gargano and LeRae would walk all over the Kanellises.
Yeah, not much more to say here. I agree with all of you. The Kanellises, they're ranked high. They've got the titles in different promotions, but easily the Garganos, I think, would slide by the Kanellises, and I have them moving on to take on Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. But Before we get to that, we'll move on to the next matchup. It is the 7th seeded Nick Aldis and Mickie James. Surprising that they were the 7th seed, but they take on the couple of Aleister Black, or Malachi Black, as you might know him now in AEW, and Queen Zelina Vega. So back to Kim on this one. Does the Queen come out of the first round with her boyfriend Malachi Black?
Husband, and yes, she does. I actually don't know a whole lot about Nick Aldis. I believe he's big with NWA, but honestly, I don't know that I've ever seen him wrestle. But Mickie James, she's Hall of Fame worthy. It was really cool to see her come back through that forbidden door for the Royal Rumble a couple weeks ago. Mickie James is a powerhouse too, but don't sleep on Malachi Black. The man is damn fun to watch. As a kickboxer, the man's light on his feet. He's quick. You don't know what's coming. And Zelina Vega, she's an okay wrestler, but I think the dominant person in this match would definitely be Malachi Black.
Kimberly, what are you watching? I don't think it's going to be actually that much of a match at all. Nick Aldis and Mickie James are both dominant for what they do. Zelina Vega is definitely the weak link here, and this could almost be a opposite of the Stephanie McMahon Triple H Jungle Boy and a J match, where if the girls will start this out, it could be over real quick, because I don't see much of Zelina Vega. And Nick Aldis hasn't been world champion in NWA and Impact for nothing. I know that not a lot of us watch Impact or NWA. In fact, I think NWA is only on YouTube. I'm not even sure if it has a streaming network or not, but he is a dominant character and probably the best wrestler right now outside of WWE or AEW or Impact. So I'm going against the grain on this one. I don't think it's going to be Vega and Black at all. I expect it to be Aldis and his wife, Mickie James.
I'm going with Troy. Malachi Black is a heck of a talent, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Zelina Vega annoys me as a wrestler. She annoys me. I can't stand her in the ring. She's boring. She's lackluster, and she doesn't do it for me in the ring. So give me Aldis and give me Mickie James.
Interesting. I think for the first time in the bracket, we have a split, because I'm going with the Queen. I think that there's an upset here with Malachi Black and Zelina Vega for the reasons of Malachi Black. I know Nick Aldis is talented and Mickie James is a future Hall of Famer, but Malachi Black is so underrated. And if he was used properly, he could be one of the top talents in any wrestling promotion. So coming down to women, Mickie James has a huge advantage. When it comes down to men, I give the slight advantage to Malachi Black, but I just think that somehow he'd use the mist, or in some way they would cheat and get out with the first round victory. So I agree with Kim. I am going with the upset here with Malachi Black and Zelina Vega. And I appreciate you correcting me, the married couple, not the dating couple. But let's go back to the next matchup, the last one of the first round of this region. And we're going to start with Brandon. And this might be a tough decision for him. It is number 10 seed CM Punk and AJ Lee versus probably his two favorites, his girl for sure, number 23 seeded Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. Brandon, do you have to go against your girl here?
Ooh, this is a tough one. This is tough. I think this has the potential to be a really good matchup if they did it right. But I love CM Punk, love AJ Lee, but at the end of the day, I got to go with the EST, and I got to go with Montez. That's my heart right there. So I'm taking Bianca, and I'm taking Montez.
Experience and mind games play out here. I take Punk and Lee over Montez and Belair, only because Punk and Lee would do anything possible or anything necessary to win, where I don't think the white bread baby faces would do that, and then get stuck in a trap of some sort that they wouldn't be able to get out of. So I'm going Punk and Lee.
Well, I didn't know we were playing dirty here, guys. Okay, so clean wins is my mindset. So CM Punk, obviously glad to have him back in the limelight again. Hasn't been too impressive, but we are thinking of these folks in their prime. So Punk's good, AJ Lee's good, but I have to agree with Brandon. I think Tez and Bianca are better. I think they would. I don't know. They're another set that they are just so fun to watch, high flying, not afraid to throw down. I'm going Tez and Bianca.
Wow, another split. I have to agree with Troy here. I like Bianca Belair in this matchup. I think versus AJ Lee that she would take that, but I just think CM Punk is just too dominant over Montez Ford. Obviously, he's a tag team champion in the past, but he's done it tag team. He hasn't been a singles competitor. He's wrestled in some singles matches, but we haven't seen him as a real singles competitor. I think that hurts him. I just think CM Punk is too dominant when you think of his career. And I think this would be a pretty easy win for CM Punk and AJ Lee. So I like them moving on to the next round. Let's go back to the top and we'll go back to Kim. Kim, you have Triple H and Steph versus Gargano and Candice LeRae. An interesting matchup here.
Definitely an interesting matchup. I think a generational matchup. But I think I'm going to go with the age factor in this one, the experience factor in this one, and I think I'm going to give it to Hunter and Steph.
No, again, we differ, sweetheart, because I'm thinking it's going to be the Garganos because Johnny could keep up with Triple H. No doubt in my mind. But I think Candice LeRae would outwork Stephanie any day of the week. And her technical skills and her technical prowess, I mean, in all honesty, I think that Candice LeRae is destined to be a trainer of some sort or some kind of a producer for WWE because she's got it on the mat and between the ears. So I'm really thinking that surprisingly, this would be probably the upset of the tournament. It would be the Garganos over the Vex or the Helmleys or whatever you want to call
them. Wow, this would be a matchup to see. This could be this would be so amazing to see this matchup. But again, they don't call him the cerebral assassin for nothing, and you can't bet against the McMahon. So I'm going with Triple H and I'm going with Stephanie.
Yeah, this one's tough. It's tough because Stephanie, she's nothing. I think Candice LeRae would work her easily, but here again, I just think the dominance of Triple H is where it's at, and I think that he would carry this team to a victory. So I can't go against Triple H right here. I think that he moves on and Steph moves on to the Elite Eight in this scenario, and we'll move on from there. We'll go back to Brandon as he has the matchup between and he has Nick Aldis and Mickey James versus Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, which again, it looks like an interesting matchup here to go on to the championship.
So here's my thought process. While Montez Ford has not been a singles competitor, if I can just give a little spoiler here, I look for Montez to be a singles competitor here in the near future because that boy can possibly win an Intercontinental or United States Championship on his own. But anyway, this one's going to be tough. You've got youth and experience. It's going to be a great matchup. But I'm sticking with Bianca and Montez, for the simple fact they have the explosiveness that could beat you. They have that edge. They have that grit. They have that determination that they're just not going to roll over and just play dead. Just because you're a legend, and just because you're a Hall of Famer, and just because you've won more titles than you care to count. So I'm taking Bianca and I'm taking Montez, and if they go down, I'll go down with the ship.
For this round, my bracket would be Aldis and James versus Punk and Lee. I'm going with CM Punk and AJ Lee. Mainly because, again, as I used last time, I could just see them outsmarting their opponents. Aldis and James are very clean wrestlers, very upfront wrestlers, where Punk and Lee, especially when you go to both of their heel days, they are very, excuse me, Triple H, very cerebral, very cunning, very thought-provoking. So I could see there be some kind of mind games here, some kind of fake out or a quick roll up or something like that, where Punk and Lee gets the victory here.
All right, I got Black and Vega versus Ford and Belair. Let's see here. I think I'm gonna go. I think this match would be very fun to watch. King Tez and Malachi Black, I think, would just be so much fun to watch together. Bianca and Vega, probably not so much, because I think Bianca would walk all over Vega. They're both tiny, tiny women, but I don't think I could really care to see those two ever have a feud. But Tez and Black, I think would be a very interesting matchup. But I'm gonna give the tip to Tez and Bianca on this one.
And the 23 seed continues to move for you guys. My matchup here is between Black and Vega and CM Punk and AJ Lee. I think that this would be a great matchup, and potentially we could see this in AEW between CM Punk and Malachi Black. When it comes down to it, I think AJ Lee is just way more dominant than Zelina Vega, and CM Punk I'd have to get the nod to over Malachi Black. Great matchup, but I like CM Punk and AJ Lee moving on to my championship in that region. So now we get to the Elite Eight, moving on to the Final Four and winning their region. Kim, starting with you, looks like it is Triple H and Steph versus Montez and Bianca. Who wins this region?
You guys are going to be surprised at my answer in this one, and I'm going to go agility over experience, and I'm going to give it to Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. And I'm going to say that Stephanie McMahon is going to be the weak link in this matchup. They say about never betting against McMahon. I'm doing it this time. I really think that Bianca, I think, would walk all over her. Steph doesn't have a lot of time in the ring, and that's fine. She does a lot, behind the scenes, and she's a busy woman. I get that, but Hunter and Tez, I think, would be an interesting matchup. The size of Hunter versus the agility of Tez, I just think that Tez and Bianca are going to come out on top on this one.
I would have Gargano and LeRae versus Punk and Lee for this one. Believe it or not, I'm going with the Garganos because I could see them being able to play the dirty games with Punk and with Lee. Because as you saw on NXT, yes, they are great, great faces. And they are a cute couple behind the scenes. They're fun-loving. I mean, hell, they're figure collectors like at least three of us on this podcast. But I've also saw them play dirty. I've also saw Johnny turn on his best friend, Tommaso Ciampa. Now, granted, Ciampa turned on him first. But when they tried to reunite the second time around, it was Gargano that turned on Ciampa by using his wife, I believe, to low blow Ciampa, to give him a low blow. So, with that being said, I could see the Garganos and the, let's just call them the Brooks, because Punk's real name is still Brooke, Brooks. So it's the Brooks. I could see the Garganos and the Brooks going tit for tat, and I could honestly see the Garganos coming out on top with this
Okay. I've got Triple H and Stephanie, and I believe I have Montez and Belair. This would be the only time I go against the McMahon, because I honestly believe Bianca and Montez are just that it factor. They got the grit, they got the determination, they just won't give up. So I love me some Triple H, love Stephanie, and that's heart to heart. But I'm gonna have to go with Bianca and Montez.
Interesting. So we got the Garganos moving on for Troy out of this region. We have Montez Ford and Bianca Belair pulling the upsets the whole way across to come out for Brandon and Kim. And my matchup would be Steph and Triple H versus CM Punk and AJ Lee. And I think we all agree to some point a lot of these wrestlers and a lot of this talent up in this region would overcome Triple H and Steph because of the weakness of Steph. And I think that this is apparent in this match as well. Triple H, I'd give the nod to over CM Punk, but I'd give the big nod of AJ Lee over Stephanie McMahon. And I think that outweighs the Triple H CM Punk. So I like CM Punk and AJ Lee to come out of this region. A lot of tough, fun matchups. I like these matchups a little bit more than the other region for CM Punk and AJ Lee, especially. But I think they can overcome it and make their way to the Final Four and winning their region. So definitely interesting here. And if you guys want to take a look at the brackets, they are up on our social media pages. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, We Three Kings Wrestling on Instagram and at We Three Kings Pod on Twitter. But that's all we got for you for tonight's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You can listen to our podcast on YouTube, We Three Kings Wrestling, as well as on pretty much any podcast site, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Just search our name and you'll be able to listen along with us. So we wish you all happy Valentine's Day if you got that special someone out there. It is very interesting to do these mixed tag matches and to see who the better couple is in all of the wrestling, at least the top 32 that we could find there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week with Region 3 and more AEW WWE talk. So thanks for listening and have a good one.